And you know, I would argue, I don't think there's really any question about this. This is the biggest night in Texas politics of this year. Leading up to now, we haven't had anything in Texas politics that compares to how much tonight means.
Well, and I think people still talk about 6 years ago when Ted Cruz debated Beto, and you know, so I think that those debates are what people remember. And remember that these events, this is the Super Bowl for Ted Cruz. He was a debate captain at Princeton. This is what he's lived for, grown up his whole life to do, is argue.
Right. I mean, he is a supreme arguer. I mean, he's an Olympic class debater. And I think he is coming into this full of confidence. I think it will be a test for Colin Allred to see how he handles. Yeah. Because Ted comes on full bore, as we saw in previous years.
But I would say I have seen Colin Allred on the campaign trail this year, and there is some fire in that belly, no doubt. So we're going to continue to talk about sort of what we're expecting tonight, and I want you guys to help us set the stage. But for now, I just want to give everybody a little bit of a behind-the-scenes understanding of what's happening right now. We know that Colin Allred and Ted Cruz have both arrived. They are in our building here at WFAA. We are going to great lengths to keep their campaigns separated, and so we have one of them on the top floor of our station here at WFAA and the other on the bottom floor. You can see that's Congressman Colin Allred walking in. He was holding hands with his wife, Allie, shaking hands with our general manager here, Carolyn Mungo, as they are getting the stage set. We also know that Colin Allred and Ted Cruz have been down to our studio. They have done their walkthrough. Right now, I would imagine they're probably getting their microphones on. They've had a chance to look at the studio. They've had a chance to understand sort of the setup down there. They have had a chance to see what the camera situation is going to be like. We have big monitors in there that are going to be keeping them on track and counting them down. Now you can see some video from just a few minutes ago as Ted Cruz arrived here. You just saw earlier Colin Allred walking in. You can see Ted Cruz here now. We candidly have a lot of heightened security. I'm sure, Bud, you and Katie felt that as you walked in this afternoon. But we have to. I mean, this is a big night. And
they let us in, though.
They let you in.
They did.
I'm glad that they did. I'm glad that they did. They thought you were a shady character, but they let you in anyway.
Well, you know, this is very different. And I mentioned the Cruz and Beto debate that was at SMU before a full auditorium, and this is a studio event.
Right.
This is no audience.
No audience.
Just closed and just four people in the studio and you know, head to head.
Yeah. All right, so let me give you a little bit of background information. Perhaps you have seen quite a few of the political ads that have been running across the airwaves all across the state of Texas, but particularly here in the DFW area. Really feel like we've been saturated. But I want to give you a little bit of information about these candidates, because what you've seen in the ads doesn't necessarily paint the whole picture. So I'm going to talk first about Congressman Colin Allred. If we could put up some pictures and some video that we have of him through the years. So some background. Colin Allred is 41 years old. He's a native of Dallas. He likes to play up the fact that he is a fourth-generation Texan. Colin Allred was raised by a single mom. She was a public school teacher. He went to Dallas ISD. He played football. He was class president at Hillcrest High School, and then he earned a scholarship, and he went on to play football at Baylor. Then he went on to play in the NFL for the Tennessee Titans. He was a linebacker, played in 32 games, recorded 46 tackles. I'm a sports fan, so I got to get in a little nugget like that. He went on to get his law degree from UC Berkeley. He became an attorney, focused on civil rights, voting rights. His entrance into politics came in 2018. He ran for Congress. He flipped a red district. He beat longtime incumbent Pete Sessions in 2018. So he's finishing up his third term in the U.S. House. He is married, as you saw earlier. He was walking in with his wife, Allie. He has 2 young boys, and he lives here in Dallas. Let's talk about Senator Ted Cruz, someone who has certainly been on the stage in Texas for quite a while, so people may think they know everything there is to know about him. But Ted Cruz is 53 years old. His father was an immigrant from Cuba. He moved to Houston when he was 4 years old or so. He went to private schools in Houston, but then he went to Princeton for his undergrad, and he went to Harvard for law school. And as Bud and Katie mentioned earlier, he was a championship debater at Princeton. So we know that means he is very skilled in what he is going to be doing tonight. He clerked at the U.S. Supreme Court after law school. He actually worked on George W. Bush's campaign, and then in the Bush administration, he worked in the DOJ. He became Solicitor General for Texas, and that means he argued on behalf of Texas at the Supreme Court. 2012 is when he decided to run for U.S. Senate. He was a Tea Party candidate back then. That win in the Republican primary was a surprise. He went on to beat Paul Sadler by 16 points. But in 2018, when he was running for re-election, he only beat Beto O'Rourke by 2.6 points. He's running for that third term now. He's married, has 2 daughters, and he calls Houston home. So that's a little bit about the candidates, maybe some things you knew. You needed a little refresher on exactly who they are. But Katie, both of these men are attorneys, which means they know how to argue. But we've mentioned a couple of times that Cruz is a championship debater. So let's pick that apart a little bit. I mean, what does that mean for him tonight, and what does that mean for Congressman Colin Allred tonight? Katie, we'll go with you first.
Well, I think you're going to see a fire hose of words coming at Colin, because Cruz is really good at that. Talking fast, he's slick, his mind works very quickly. You can see it if you listen to his podcast. I mean, he's got, and he has a very good recall. I mean, he can pull up facts and figures from years and years ago, which I consider an impressive feat. But it also has a tendency to overwhelm people with words and details and numbers. And picking that apart, like I say, it's like a fire hose coming at you. Picking it apart to pick those points that you need to respond to effectively can be a real challenge.
And do we think, I think that there's a very clear difference when it comes to demeanor between these two men. So Bud, do you think that that will come across in a way that, as Katie said, Cruz shows absolute command of everything? Allred is known to be a little more quiet, maybe a little more even-keeled. What do you think that's going to mean for viewers as they watch?
Well, it'll be a little different. I keep mentioning the Cruz and Beto debate, but Beto, of course, was a rowing captain and not a football captain. He actually folded his arms and he would back away from Cruz. Cruz was such a force of energy from across the stage. I don't think we'll see Allred doing that. I think he'll stand his ground and be calm. It is going to be difficult for him to just respond so quickly to all the force that's coming at him in all of Cruz's comments. But I think that it's very important for Cruz tonight. This is his chance to close the deal and to make his points about Texas crime, the border, the economy. Allred is reaching for that last 2 or 3% and trying to convince middle-of-the-road voters or even Trump voters that he's the best candidate for them to vote for. So he has to take a couple of chances. He can't just play it safe all night.
Right. Plus, I think Cruz is trying to moderate his affect. He's trying to rebrand himself as more moderate, more potentially bipartisan, which I can't say without almost laughing out loud. I think that's going to be an interesting thing to see if he can pull that off.
Sure.
Because his brand is he is a firebrand. That's what he has done from the time before he was elected.
Yeah, no, that's very true. And I think that is a really, for me at least, it was somewhat surprising as this campaign really got going to see that Ted Cruz was sort of backing away from all of his Republican bona fides and saying, you know what, actually I'm a bipartisan guy. And for me, I was a little surprised to see that. But clearly, you know what, they do what I know the numbers need them to do. And if they're seeing that is making a difference, then they're moving the needle that way.
We've jokingly called it Cruz version 3.0 because you had Cruz, the original Cruz, and then you had the post-Trump Cruz, and now you have the Cruz reaching for the middle. And of course a lot of it is personality too, and whether he presents himself as somebody who knows everything about everything or whether he connects with the viewer.
Yeah.